Tin copper wire versus normal copper wire in the marine environment. Have you ever thought about the difference? You ever thought about, oh, I wonder if I can just use this copper wire or copper cable and put it in my boat, my yacht, whatever, and it'll be all okay? Well, we're going to put it to the test. What I thought I'd do is basically sort out some different wiring systems, some cables, and put some crimps and heat shrink and everything on them and put them to the test. Now, in the modern world that we live in, we rely on our electronic systems in our boats and yachts a lot more than we ever did before. Not many of us navigate by compass anymore, right? We've got these big maps on the charts and everything else that we rely on to find our way home. We've got bilge pumps on our boats and emergency systems that we really need to make sure that they keep working. So the electrical systems on those vessels is very, very important. So what I thought I'd do is put these to the test. And what I mean by put them to the test is essentially set them up as if they would be on a boat. And what I mean by that is basically crimps and connectors, and throw them into a big bucket of water, just a vessel, container or whatever, of salty water, and see what they do, see what happens, see how they react to that water over a period of time. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. What I've got is a bunch of different types of connectors. So they're all joiners, and what we're going to do is we're going to dump them into some water and see what happens. So that one there is just a standard that I can even feel, that feels like the standard copper. This one here is a normal heat shrink, so I've got a joiner in there, and then I've got heat shrink over the top of it. It's just a normal thin walled normal heat shrink. It's not glue lined, there's nothing fancy about that one at all. Nice cheap one. Then I've got some glue lined heat shrink. I can tell from this one here, you can see this one is a glue lined heat shrink. So there, I'm hoping that you can see that. There's the glue coming out of the end of it on this end here. I'll leave that there for a little while so that make sure that you can see that. And that's one thing that I really like to do. I'm going to go through this process a little bit later, but essentially whenever I'm doing anything that's got a glue lining on it like that, I normally like to make sure that I see the glue come out the end, and then I squish down to make sure that heat shrink actually bonds to the insulation itself, because that's the whole idea, is it's got to bond to the insulation and form that IP rating or that waterproof membrane, so that the water can't get in there to our connection. And then I've got one of these bad guys here. Alright, we've all seen them over the internet, on Facebook and everything else. I'm going to try that, see how that goes. I'm not going to talk about manufacturers or anything. I don't think that's relevant. I don't want to be one of those YouTubers that gets sued these days, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just testing the different systems. This one here is just a standard heat shrink, glue lined heat shrink crimp, heat shrink crimp. So we're going to test that one as well. And I guess you get the general idea, right? So we're going to dump them into a big bucket of water, and we're going to wait a few weeks and see what happens. So let's go and do it. Let's go and sort it out. Let's go and have a crack at this. So what I've got is I've got an esky here, cooler. I'm going to fill this up with water. Well, not fill it up, put some water in it. And I've got a saltwater pool here. So I'm going to get a few buckets of the water from that pool. I'm going to throw it in there, throw the water in there, and then I'm going to throw all of our wires and everything else that we've got. So just a standard tinned copper, normal copper. I'm going to throw that in there, and then we're going to throw all of our connectors and everything else in there and see what happens. Yep. No one. Might even throw some more salt in there a little bit later as well, just to make it a really harsh environment. Give us a pretty good indication of what's going to go on. If I do that, I'll show you that I've done that. Alright, that's probably enough water for now. So here's our wires. In they go. Doesn't get any harsher than that. If that's on the bottom of your boat in a bilge pump or something like that, then that's probably as bad as it's going to get. So we'll leave them in there and we'll come back in a few weeks and see what happens. I'm going to have to tell the wife that I've done this, otherwise she'll tip it out and go, oh, what's he done here? And tip all that out. We don't want that to happen. That'll ruin the experiment, won't it? So let's let her know what's going on. But let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen. What colour the wires are going to become. What's going to happen to the tinned copper wires, what's going to happen to the copper wires, what's going to happen to those connectors. How many of those connectors are going to survive? So in addition to all of the other cabling systems or the connectors that I've thrown in that bucket of water, guys, I realised something that a lot of people probably do is just twist some wires together, throw a bit of insulation tape over the top of it and hope for the best, right? So let's do it. Let's do that as well. So that's another one that I'm going to add to it. So even though the other ones have been in there for about a day already, I'm going to just sort this one out. So same sort of thing. This is just I'm just going to use the copper wire for this one. Strip that back. And all I'm going to do is simply twist it together, make them the same length, twist on, twist, twist, twist. Now, personally, I would never do this in a boat, but it's for demonstration purposes, right? And the whole idea is just to see what happens. And insulation tape. This is just standard electrical insulation tape, and I'm just going to wrap it over the top and go and put it in the bucket as well. Just another one to add to that. Not going to get too carried away with that. Might be surprised at some of the results we get with that one, I don't know. Now, in some future videos, what I want to do as well is do some of the electrical work. So when we build a boat, the fiberglassing in the hull, and that's only a very small portion of the overall system itself. The boat must have good, reliable electrical systems in it, so that, you know, if we're stuck out at sea, 50, 60 nautical mile out at sea, even further for the yachties and everybody else, what we don't want is stuff going wrong, stuff breaking down, stuff, you know, you try to switch something on and it doesn't work, your bilge pumps fail, or your anchor, you can't get your anchor up. Oh man, my anchor's not coming up. What could be the reason for that? The reason could be bad connections. The reason could be bad switches or circuit breakers or something else. It could be the fact that you've got a junction box in the boat where you've got connectors and everything else in there that aren't properly sealed. So we're going to have a really good look at that. We're going to look at these sort of junction boxes. We're going to have a look at the glands. So this here is a nylon gland. So if you should be able to see this over here, I'm hoping you can. This is a junction box that I set up once before, a couple of weeks ago, and I've got nylon glands going into that. So essentially that's just for demonstration purposes. That's a blue C switch box there on a junction box. Now, the reason I use these glands is they're an IP rated gland. So this junction box here has got an IP67 rating. So what that means is it keeps the water out. So we've got a rubber seal along there. When we close it up, we clamp it down and it forms a nice watertight box for all of our electrical connections. If we've got electrical connections, if we've got electrical components in there. So this one here, for example, classic example here is what I'm going to be installing in here is some Wi-Fi devices and some electronics. Then I go inside the cab, but I want to provide as much protection as I possibly can for that. So that's going to happen a lot later on the bigger boat. So I'm going to set up a system where I can basically have alarms on my boat. Let's say my bilge pumps, they have a big storm like we did here the other night. Let's say that it was just pouring down rain, the boat's sitting in the water and the bilge pumps fail, or the battery gets low, or something goes wrong. I want to know what's happening. So this junction box here is going to have all of that security equipment inside of that with a Wi-Fi system in there, so that I can just dial into it and have a look at what's going on. These glands, essentially what happens is they've just got little locking nuts on the back. Look, I'll go into this a lot further a little bit later. Little rubber seal. You drill your hole, you put it through there, put your lock nut on, and then that orifice there, that hole, we put the cables through there and we clamp that up. So that little rubber piece that's inside of there will close up and give you a nice watertight seal. It's closed right up, yeah, you can see that now. So that's closed right up. If we undo it again, that'll just open up and get our cables through. Alright, so that's something that we've got in the future anyway. So if you're really into a lot of DIY stuff, that's what we're going to do. Not just about boat building, not just about fiberglass work, we're doing the whole lot. So all of the electrical, all of the electronics, we've got lithium systems going in. The bigger boat later on, we're going to have solar systems going into it and everything else. So I'm going to talk about all the cables and the fuses, the junction boxes, and how I'm going to do it all. So it's something to look forward to. Hopefully it's something to look forward to anyway. Whether it's a small boat that you've got, whether it's a big boat or a yacht, whatever, I'm hoping that you're going to get something out of this. I'm hoping that there's going to be some useful information. Alright, thanks guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if this is the sort of content you're going to get into, DIY, later on, fishing and everything else, but right now I've got to get those boats finished, so look forward to seeing you in another one. Don't forget, like and subscribe guys, thanks very much.